This is Sonic CD, a game that came out for an attachment for the Sega Genesis called the Sega CD. I believe it came out after Sonic 2, but it was being developed kind of in tandem with Sonic 2 because they were working on a port for Sonic 1, and then it kind of became its own project. But regardless of any of that, this is Sonic CD, and you've asked for it. Today we're going to be doing the No Down Challenge, also known as the I Can't Press Down Challenge, whatever you want to call it, in Sonic CD. So first, as we always do, we're going to set out the rules for the challenge. First, obviously we can't press down. That's off the table. We've done this before. That means that we cannot duck in the game. So if there's any projectiles that go over our head, we basically have to tank them. We can't duck under them. It also means no spin dashing. And spin dashing, I don't believe was in Sonic CD originally. However, we are playing on the Origins version of the game, so spin dashing is here, but we're not going to do it. Also, I'm going to exclude drop dashing. Even though you don't have to press down to do drop dashing, it wasn't in the original game, so it feels a little strange to include it. We're also not going to be doing any special stages, and we're not going to be trying to do any of the story stuff. But if I go to the past and the future, it is what it is. But I'm not going to do any of the special stages. Now, normally in the rules, we don't talk about things we are including, but I wanted to be explicit about this. There is a mechanic called dashing in this game where you hold up and the jump button, basically a spin dashing, but you hold up. That was in the original Sonic CD as far as I know, so I am going to allow myself to do it whenever it's relevant, so I don't just have to worry about getting speed from hills and such. But the dashing does leave you vulnerable to attacks while you're using it, so it's a little bit more dangerous than a spin dash, but you can still get speed using it. Now, as I hinted at in the rules, we are going to be playing this on the Origins version of Sonic CD. There's nothing too much different since we've already ruled out spin dashing and drop dashing in the rules, but just a nice minutia to keep in mind as we do the challenge. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to say, if you enjoy this video at all while you're going, please like it. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe. And since we hit 1,000 subscribers, which thank you so much for that, I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. We can now hype the videos, which gets it in front of more people. So I would love it if you liked, subscribed, and hype. And if you're feeling like you have something to say about the video, please leave a comment. I love engaging with the comments. Lastly, one last thing before we get started. I don't actually really know the lore of Sonic CD at all, and I mean like the in-universe lore, because I've only ever played it once. It was right when I downloaded Sonic Origins. I played through everything. So if we have any Sonic lore heads in the comments, please enlighten me as to what like the future and the past and the story beats of this game are, because I genuinely do not know. I have a good idea of the Sonic 1 and 2 lore, and Sonic 3 lore, obviously, but this one kind of eludes me. So if you want to call me dumb in the comments, do whatever you want. But if someone could drop the story in the comments below, that would be awesome. Our journey begins in Palm Tree Panic, which is this game's Green Hill Zone, and at the beginning, it has one of the coolest sections in a Sonic game I've experienced thus far, where, and I take a minute and I want to show off the dash mechanic just so you all can see what it's like. So you get enough speed to go up and then the camera angle changes. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Otherwise, there's nothing really interesting in Zone 1. And we're on to Zone 2 in Palm Tree Panic. So the way that this game works, it has 3 zones like Sonic 1. And here, man, I am just having some troubles with that enemy. So this is interesting. If I were able to press down, I could have gotten through that a lot easier, but I found out that as long as you jumped, you could get through, and there's a force ball section. And now here we go to the future, I believe. Yeah, into another force ball section. So far, nothing really much for us not being able to press down. And now we're on to Zone 3. And these zones are definitely just like boss fighting zones. There's not like a level that goes into the boss like in Sonic 2 or Sonic 1, I believe. Typically, the boss was like at the end of a level. This one's pretty easy. You just gotta hit him 3 times. I had some trouble at the beginning, but overall, that boss is done. We go into a force ball section, and we are on to Collision Chaos World 2. Here we are at Collision Chaos, and this level is much more pink than the other one. And so what I didn't realize here is that this is a cutscene where I believe this one's Metal Sonic. It might be Mecha Sonic. Correct me in the comments. I forget what it is. And I didn't realize that, so I died a few times on those spikes. This section is like the king of the force balls. This is by far the most force balls we've seen. And I do have a little bit of trouble with these spikes. I feel like I can never get enough momentum. And then there's another force ball section. And this is an interesting section. So in Sonic 2, they have the Casino Night Zone, where you like play the slots, and this is kind of the same thing. And then, do you guys know the story of Sisyphus and the boulder? because this is what this was for me. I was trying to get out of this half pipe section, and I couldn't do it. Eventually, I managed to jump out, and we're all good. And this is a section where I can't spin dash, but there is a dash so I can get some momentum. After I get that momentum, we're on to Collision Chaos Zone 2. We've got a little bit of a force ball section, and I take the top path here. There's a force ball, and I realize the top path is not going anywhere. So I take the bottom path with the force ball, and man, there are so many force balls in this world, which, like we've said, force balls, obviously I'm not pressing down, but it's interesting to include them. And here I am again, back at my Sisyphus moment. However, this time I go to the past, and I'm able to get out. And there's Metal Sonic again. I think there was supposed to be a cutscene there, but I ran past it. And with another force ball section, we are on to the boss zone, Zone 3. So this is the Pinball boss. I believe, and I don't know if this is true, I feel like I heard it somewhere though, they were trying to use this boss to sell Sonic Pinball. And let me tell you, they did a bang up job, because not really. This boss took me so long, and it was so difficult to do. It had nothing to do with me not being able to press down. Like, I could not get the timing right, and I kept falling back down, and it was so frustrating. And eventually, I managed to get to where Eggman was, beat the boss, grow the flowers, and now, with that, we are on to World 3. What would Sonic be without a water level? So this one, I get stuck for a little bit. I get soft block, and I don't know if I could press down to get out of this, but I wasn't sure exactly how it was working. I'm sure that there was a better way to do it, but I couldn't find it. And I don't know why, but it feels like in this version of the game, the bubbles just don't spawn. And so I sit here and I'm like running out of air for so long and waiting until a bubble comes up. So we shoot up to the top, and that's the goal for the first zone. I tried to hit the special stage there to get some B-roll, but I missed, and so that is why there's no B-roll of a special stage in the intro. So here with this enemy, I think if I were rolling when I came here, this wouldn't have been a problem, so not pressing down definitely made that more difficult. And here's just an interesting section where some blocks fall. You don't have to press down or anything to get to those blocks, and oh man, this is another Sisyphus moment. I struggled with this section for so long because I didn't realize that that block was jutting out. I thought it was part of the background, and looking at it now, it looks pretty obvious that it's not part of the background. But eventually I figured out how to do that part, and you free the gate, and then here's a section like the airship in Sonic 2. It's forced me to take the top path because I can't press down to get any lower, but that was simple enough, and we're on to the boss zone, Zone 3. And let me tell you, this boss is like the kind of the inverse of the Sonic 1 water level boss, where you have to just parkour in Sonic 1 until you beat it. This one, you like chase him down and you do end up beating him, and then he takes you through this weird water section where he is the Sonic 2 boss from the mechanical level. I'm blanking on the name right now. In Zone 8. I forget the name, but it doesn't matter. Hey, editing Skrigs here. It is called Metropolis Zone. So you have to pop all of his bubbles, and I died once, and I realized that you don't actually have to pop all of his bubbles. You just have to hit him, which realistically I should have known. But we grow the flowers, and we're on to World 4. Welcome to Quartz Quadrant, Zone 1. This level takes place kind of inside of a cave, and here's an enemy that you can't jump on top of unless you jump right on their head. And I didn't actually have any like down-related troubles with the enemies, other than the fact that I kept running into them because I couldn't press down. But that pink spiky guy, he's a difficult one. So that's Zone 1. Nothing really interesting happened other than encountering that pink spiky guy. There's a forced ball in Zone 2, combined with me running into an enemy because I couldn't press down. And then another one where you have to basically press down to defeat them, or like jump perfectly at the right time. And actually that time I jumped on the top, so maybe I misunderstood the spikes while I was playing, or maybe I had iframes there. Either way, the enemies in this level are very difficult, and this boss took me a minute to figure out. So I think that if you're running faster, Eggman, like, his machine takes more wear and tear. At the end of the day, with this one, you're just trying to get him enough wear and tear, like you saw there, to where he falls down, and then eventually he'll just run away. He's way too scared of me. So you give him a second to run away, you grow the flowers, and now we are on to World 5. Now, welcome to Wacky Workbench, a kind of electrical world, which this one took me a while to figure out because the electricity like keeps flashing, and when it's flashing, you bounce right off of the floor and then you take damage, and I couldn't figure out the timing or exactly what was happening. And this might be actually my coolest thing in the game right here. You jump on like either side of that thing and it steps up. But there was nothing non-down related in Zone 1. So here we are at Zone 2. Interesting little like go-kart type of machine, which I found cool. And then here's a force ball section with a place where you have to jump to get a certain way. And this one, I always have a trouble with the moving platforms and getting crushed by them. And I didn't know that that would turn me into an icicle. But we've got a few more force ball sections, and then we go to the past, I believe, which, oh no, this is the future. Sorry. I can't really keep it straight all the time without looking in the bottom for the F or the P. But it's interesting. That's Zone 2. We're on to Zone 3. Back to my sentence. It's interesting to me that you can't like all of the things still work in the past, even though like it's all electricity, but that's beside the point. So this boss is relatively simple. He drills upward, drops some stuff on you. Just because it's simple doesn't mean I got it in the first try. I thought that was going to crush me, so it was crazy that it didn't. But then the floor like goes up and you are able to damage him. Now I did die there from crushing because I didn't know that the ceiling was there, but this time I'm prepared. I deal the final blow, and we follow Eggman here, and this is the craziest transition I've ever seen. They just give up on trying to animate anything and just flash to a white screen for a second and then bring you back. So after that, we grow the flowers, and we are on to World 6. Welcome, my friends, to Stardust Speedway, and what would Sonic be without a space level? And honestly, I love the visuals of the space levels. Now, there is some force ball sections, and here, I could spin dash, I could dash. I kind of chose not to and just powered up the hill, but obviously, that was an easily jumpable or easily dashable. I chose to kind of suffer there. And here's another section. I still don't understand how these green guys work. And we couldn't really press down, and I bounced right off of the top of him when I did. So after that, we go to the future, which doesn't seem to change the level much. And I'm having a little bit of trouble getting through here. I'm trying to dash and trying to figure it out. But I realized that you weren't even supposed to go that way anyway, or at least there's a way to not go that way. So I am using dash pretty heavily in this section because there's a lot of like loops that are made much easier by gathering some momentum. So it is nice to have the dash, even if we don't have the spin dash, which like protects us. We still have the dash, and those are some force ball sections, but with all that, we are through Zone 1, and it's time for Zone 2. I will say this level in particular has had the most like dash related things that, since we're in the Origins version, we could have spin dashed, but it is nice that Sonic CD has that up dash thing. And here's another moment of Sisyphus's boulder. It took me a little bit to get out of that, but we got out of it. I hit the goal, and we are on to the boss of Stardust Speedway. Now, this boss, I didn't really have fun with this boss. They give you a ton of like gold first, but it felt a little, I don't know, contrived is the word I want to say, because it's just a race against, I don't know if it's Metal or Mecha still, sorry. And he does random damages to you, and it is a little hard for me to like keep up momentum because we can't press down, but it's just a race between you and Metal Sonic, and you don't even have to win, I don't think. Like, he does damage to you and there are coins, but it's just a time trial. And I did win, but I really don't think you have to win. And eventually Eggman just gets tired and runs off, but we've rescued Amy, and it's time for the Metallic Madness world. So the last level was a space level. This level is a metal level. And that one, genuinely, I don't think we could have gotten out of if I didn't have dash. Now, here's an interesting one. We haven't had an enemy force ball us yet. And of course, another moving platform gets me. But it is interesting to have a forced ball enemy and not being able to get coins and going into this. I guess I could have gotten coins, but I didn't, and that was difficult. But after another dash section, we get through zone 1, and it's time for zone 2. And we start with my enemies some moving platforms. I get through them this time, so there's nothing really interesting there. But I really do like the innovations they did with Sonic CD. Now, I do get crushed there by a moving platform. Like, that spring on a wheel was really innovative to me, and I thought it was really cool. Now, these moving platforms are the death of me. I don't know why I can't figure them out. So we've got a forced ball and an interesting minutia here. It doesn't matter because you don't need to, but we could not have taken the down path there if we wanted to. And here's another one of those machines that I think is so cool in Sonic CD. And now we are the small Sonic. This was probably like my favorite part of the gameplay, is being small Sonic, and obviously we get crushed by that moving platform. I don't make that mistake twice, luckily. But it is interesting to me when you die as small Sonic, you flash back to normal size Sonic while you're dying. It's like they just didn't write an animation of small Sonic dying, so they were like, just put the big one back in, nobody will notice. I think it's funny. Here's a section, you just kind of gotta wait it out. But with that, zone 2 is done, and we're gonna move on to the boss of zone 3, which this is kind of a difficult parkour section in terms of timing. Luckily, we didn't take any damage from the moving platform. And here's an interesting thing. So you have to use this like moving platform to move between the lanes. And then we've got like lightning bug bosses. And these are relatively easy. In fact, I kind of cheese them because I just use my iframes to hit them. Like, I don't really do the boss the correct way. I just use my iframes and kill them. And it is now time for the actual boss of the area, which is this like weird propeller fan thing. And I kind of cheese it. After a while, I get tired of just waiting. And so I let him deal some damage to me and then just hit him, which honestly, that's like the supreme cheese strategy in Sonic, is when you're in a boss, just letting them hit you so you can use your iframes. Like there, I'm about to get a double hit just because I had iframes. Sorry, I didn't get a double hit there. I'm going to get a hit at the end from more iframes. Oh, never mind. I guess I don't. I misspoke. So he's only got one of his things left, and it's easy enough. He does this weird pogo stick thing. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I remember. We use our iframes to deal the last blow, and he fades away. We've completed Metallic Madness, we've saved Amy, and that's the game. So, can you beat Sonic CD without pressing down? Obviously the answer is yes. And I don't really think it's any harder than originally, only because you have that dash ability. And having that dash ability really saved me a lot of times when I would have needed to like spin dash in the later games. But having that up dash was really good for us. Helped me get out of some situations. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed this video at all, leave it a like. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe. Hype the video if you're feeling generous. Even if you don't do any of that other stuff though, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.